8:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by J. Yogaraj, read by Soundithavam. The President stresses significant responsibilities are entrusted with the country's religious leaders. The IMF team to visit Sri Lanka for the second EFF review. India extends support to improve the power and energy sector of the country. 2.4 million family units to receive Aswasuma in the second phase. The Election Commission notified of parliamentary vacancy following MP's resignation. Tourism records 400,000 arrivals in 57 days. In news overseas, US and Thailand hold annual joint military exercise. In sports, Jeffrey Van der Sar and Avishka Fernando called up for Bangladesh T20Is. President Ranil Wickremesinghe has affirmed the government's commitment to fostering development through reconciliation, emphasizing that nations worldwide which have eradicated racism and bigotry have experienced significant development. The president further highlighted how racism and bigotry have become convenient tools for politicians to wield power and for religious leaders to maintain their authority, recounting the grim lessons learned from the prolonged use of these divisive tactics, which ultimately led the nation into a devastating conflict. Addressing the religions to reconcile, National Interreligious Symposium organized by the National Peace Council of Sri Lanka held today at the Bandaranaike International Conference Hall, the BMICH in Colombo, President Wickremesinghe stressed the importance of fostering unity and religious harmony among all citizens, underscoring the government's proactive measures towards this goal. The Interreligious Conference served as a culmination of the Plural Action for Conflict Transformation project, spanning 3 years and encompassing 17 districts. President Wickremesinghe actively engaged with district representatives, addressing their queries and concerns during the event, underscoring the government's commitment to fostering reconciliation and harmony across the nation. Speaking at the conference, President Ranil Wickremesinghe further added that having acknowledged the intrinsic connection between religion and reconciliation, our nation has endured the bitter consequences of racism and religious extremism, culminating in a devastating conflict. Following the cessation of hostilities, our main objective has been to foster coexistence among all communities. The responsibility of cultivating harmony rests significantly on the shoulders of religious leaders. It is imperative that we remain mindful of our intentions. While politicians often pursue power, religious leaders strive to maintain their positions, frequently resorting to the perilous avenues of racism and bigotry. This unfortunate trend has plagued our country since the 1930s, yielding disastrous outcomes that require no further explanation. A special discussion was held between Sri Lanka and India on power and energy sector. The Indian Minister of Power and Energy, Pankaj Agarwal, and the Indian High Commissioner Santosh Jha were present at this discussion. The meeting focused on producing 130 megawatts of electricity from 3 islets of the Jaffna Peninsula through renewable energy sources. The discussion also focused on the renewable energy projects implemented with the support of the Indian government. A team from the International Monetary Fund is to arrive in Sri Lanka for the second review of the Extended Fund Facility EFF program, which is to begin on the 7th of March, according to State Minister of Finance Shehan Semasinghe. The State Minister said he believes the second review for the third disbursement under the Extended Fund Facility will be carried out across a period of around 2 weeks. The second review will commence from the 7th of March, and we are very confident that we will be a smoother review than the first review. Because the first review, it was the initial stages in the implementation of the policy decisions the government had taken, he told reporters during a press briefing at the Presidential Media Centre on Wednesday. The progress in meeting key commitments under the IMF-supported program is said to be formally assessed in the context of the second review of the EFF arrangement, alongside the forthcoming 2024 Article 4 consultation assessing Sri Lanka's economic health. The International Monetary Fund had previously said the second review of Sri Lanka's $2.9 billion bailout could be completed in the first half of 2024, provided it manages to meet debt restructuring and revenue targets set under the program. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. All necessary arrangements have been made to extend benefits in the second phase of the Aswasuma program to 2.4 million family units. starting from June 2024, Finance State Minister Shehan Sema-Singh has said. The State Minister underscored the imminent closure of the second phase of the applications, slated to conclude on March 15, 2024. Emphasizing the importance of timely submission, he reiterated that individuals failing to submit their applications by the given deadline will forfeit eligibility for benefits associated with the program. He said this during a media briefing at the Presidential Media Centre today, themed A Collective Path to a Stable Country. Minister Sema-Singh said that approximately 7,000 individuals who were found to have received benefits based on false information have been removed from the program due to appeals and objections. Sri Lanka's Sports and Tourism Minister Harin Fernando announced the initiation of comprehensive plans aimed at promoting sports tourism in the country. Minister Fernando highlighted the positive impact of these measures on both tourism and sports. In a bid to attract attention, the minister mentioned roping in one of India's biggest cricketers for their advertising campaign. Then people will realize how it happens. Also, steps will be taken to promote golf tourism. In the coming days, we play a Legends tournament with players such as Chris Gayle, Aaron Finch and others in Kandy for a fortnight. Furthermore, the Asian Legend Cricket will take place with the participation of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan and Sri Lanka in Dambulla, he added. The Secretary-General of Parliament, Kushani Rohanadira, has informed the Chairman of the Election Commission of Sri Lanka in writing of the parliamentary vacancy created following the resignation of Uddeka Premaratna, representing the Anuradhapura constituency. Premaratna of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna SLBC handed over his letter of resignation on the 27th of February to the Deputy General Secretary of Parliament, Chaminda Kularatna. Meanwhile, S.C. Muthukumarana is tipped to fill the relevant parliamentary vacancy. That concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
A team from the International Monetary Fund is to arrive in Sri Lanka for the second review of the Extended Fund Facility Programme, which is set to begin on the 7th of March, according to State Minister of Finance Shehan Sema-Singh. The State Minister said he believes the second review for the third disbursement under the Extended Fund Facility will be carried out across a period of around 2 weeks and came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
On to Watchlight, the heat index with temperature felt on the human body is expected to increase up to caution level at some places in the northwestern and north-central provinces, also Gampaha, Colombo, Hambantota and the Trincomalee districts, the northwestern, western and southern provinces and the Ratnapura district, the Department of Meteorology warned. That came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
Making headlines tonight, the US and Thailand hold annually joint military exercise. Births in Japan and South Korea hit record lows. Marcos looks to hold plebiscite to change constitution. One of Asia's largest annual joint military drills, Cobra Gold, is underway in Thailand. Co-sponsored by the host country and the United States, this year's edition officially started on Tuesday. More than 9,500 personnel from 30 countries, including Japan and Southeast Asian nations, are taking part. It aims to strengthen military cooperation between the US and Asian countries amid China's growing influence in the region. The number of babies born in Japan and neighboring South Korea reached record lows in 2023, underlining the failure of efforts to buck the depopulation trend. The number of babies born in Japan last year totaled 758,631, the lowest since record-keeping began, down 5.1% from 2022. Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. says he is considering holding a plebiscite to revise the country's constitution next year. He says the move is aimed at easing restriction on foreign investors, but critics see it as an attempt to remove the presidential term limit. Marcos suggested on Wednesday the plebiscite will be held together with the midterm elections in May 2025. The current constitution limits foreign ownership in areas such as public services and natural resources development projects. Marcos says economic provisions need to be amended to prop up the country's growth. Back to the headlines of the world news. The US and Thailand hold annual joint military exercise. Births in Japan and South Korea hit record lows. And Marcos looks to hold plebiscite to change constitution. That concludes this bulletin of world news. On to development news. Sri Lanka tourism is set to record its best year of arrivals as the country attracted nearly 400,000 tourists in just 57 days of this year. The country had 208,253 tourists in January 2024, which showed a record 103.1% as against January 2023, which stood at 102,545. Up to February 1st, 2024 to February 25th, Sri Lanka attracted 191,018 arrivals, improving on the arrival figure of 107,639 recorded in February 2023. Sri Lanka is now averaging around 7,000 arrivals per day. Up to February 25th, Sri Lanka has recorded 399,271 arrivals, with several charter and scheduled flights from Russia touching in both Colombo and Mattala. They have become the top source destination for Sri Lanka, with 27,909 arrivals and accounted to 15% of the total number. That came to you in development news.
Moving on with sports news.
Sri Lanka have retained largely the same T20 squad that beat Afghanistan in their three-match T20I series for next month's tour of Bangladesh, with Jeffrey Van der Sar and Avishka Fernando the only additions. Fernando has been drafted in place of Pathum Nissanka, who is still recovering from injury, while Van der Sar has been added to the squad as cover for Manindu Hasaranga, who will miss the first two T20Is due to suspension. In Hasaranga's absence, Vice Captain Charit Asalanka will lead the team for the opening two T20Is. That came to you in sports news. Business news up next.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekat life ekේ change ekat niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekat niyamata set wenna friendship එක menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Organica Beverage Company targets over Euro 90,000 annual forex income from King Coconut Water exports. Nihal Pereira, Managing Director, Organica Beverages Company Private Limited, said. Quoting, since 2013, we have been exporting our value-added products to Germany, the USA, Australia and other Middle Eastern countries with remarkable appreciation from foreign buyers, unquote. That's business news. Economic news up next.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekat life ekේ change ekat niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekat niyamata set wenna friendship එක menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news, adding a historic landmark to the local energy sector, Adani Green Energy Sri Lanka Limited has received the much-awaited and long-overdue energy permit from Sri Lanka's Sustainable Energy Authority to operate its ground monumental $335 million 234 megawatt Punarind wind energy power project in northern province of Sri Lanka. This landmark endeavour not only marks Sri Lanka's largest single-location wind energy project, but also heralds a new era of renewable energy dominance, addressing critical issues like the energy crisis, economic recovery and environmental sustainability. This $355 million 234 megawatt Punarind wind energy power project stands tall as a testament to Adani Green Energy's unwavering commitment to pioneering sustainable solutions. That's economic news.
Weather report.
The Met Department says a few showers will occur in the eastern and Uva provinces, also in the Polonnaruwa, Nuwara and Matale districts. Showers or thundershowers may occur at several places in the western and Sabaragama provinces and in the Galle and Matara districts in the evening or night. Fairly strong winds, about 30 to 40 kilometers per hour, can be expected at times in the eastern slopes of the Central Hills, also in the northern, north-central, northwestern, Uva and eastern provinces and also in the Hamatara district. The public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damage caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. This weather report was published this evening at 7:30 p.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The President stresses significant responsibilities entrusted with the country's religious leaders. The IMF team to visit Sri Lanka for the second EFF review. India extends support to improve the power and energy sector of the country. 2.4 million family units to receive Aswasuma in the second phase. The Election Commission notified of parliamentary vacancy following MP's resignation. Tourism records 400,000 arrivals in 57 days. The US and Thailand hold annual joint military exercise. And Jeffrey Vandese and Avishka Fernando called up for Bangladesh T20Is. On that note, we conclude tonight's news broadcast, and now it's back to your host across the glass, Spain, who's got something up his sleeve, and I think it's a wonderful collection of music to keep you well entertained and serenade you till the end of transmission. All yours, Ramesh.